Toad. Toad is an unreleased character from Stalker Oblivion Lost, a merchant with a difficult personality. He's greedy, always in a bad mood, and rude. He bribed the military and had trade connections with them. He gave stalkers assignments from various clients. First version of Toad. A player approaches a merchant in the basement and tells him about losing a partner in the garbage dump. The merchant tells him about a missing squad leader and a couple of orders for artifacts. The player takes one of these quests out of need for money. The merchant invites the player to explore the rat tunnels in search of artifacts or valuables for one of the missing Stalker expeditions. One of the corpses is clutching a black box, and backpacks, maps, papers, tools, and notebooks that are scattered around, all of which the merchant needs. After rescuing the commander, the merchant receives confirmation from the military over the radio and gives the player money for equipment. I once sent the Stalker on a mission. The player could find his corpse and belongings in a well. The merchant could give several more tasks. Pass on important information and equipment to a group of Stalkers. They, in turn, must hand over a key artifact to a merchant. Meanwhile, the meeting is known to military personnel seeking revenge on the group. If a conflict breaks out between Stalkers and the military, and the former shoots up the checkpoint, patrols will be reinforced, either killing Stalkers or transporting them to the checkpoint. If several Stalkers are killed, the trader will flee from his position deeper into the zone. The merchant could also be given a Toad's eye, a glowing antenna, and samples from the lake on the territory of the Agroprom Research Institute, as ordered by the scientists. Second version. In the spring of 2012, a newbie Stalker approaches a merchant to wait out an anomalous storm. Having lost a comrade beforehand, the merchant tells of cycles of anomalous activity. While this activity subsides, the merchant tasks the player with rescuing a missing squad leader, with whom he has secret ties. After completing the task, the player sets out to find their comrade and returns some time later with a Toad's Eye, for which they receive good money. The merchant assigns a new task, exploring the rat tunnels to search for the missing expeditions and the black box artifact. After some time, the player returns to replenish supplies, heal, and sell the finds. They then ascend in the tunnels again, where they find the artifact along with the missing military Stalker expedition. The third version. The player wakes up at the merchant's and can't remember anything. The merchant gives 4 quests. The first one is to take the sealed metal box to the checkpoint, leave it in a certain place, and pick up another from there. Meet the Stalker, who has returned from a deep raid at the railway bridge. Take the artifacts he brought and give him ammunition. Then make a temporary map of anomalous zones in the area around the merchant cellar, and at last find a cache on the farm behind the railroad and take the artifacts from there. After this, the merchant believes that the player owes him nothing and offers the minimum equipment necessary to begin moving deeper into the zone. After these tasks, the player could go further into the zone or continue to complete other tasks from the merchant. This document describes only the first 2 quests in a slightly abbreviated form. However, it states that Toad should have 4 or 5 quests. After completing all the quests, the merchant was supposed to say, "I must admit that, to my great regret, you no longer owe me anything." Toad was the prototype for Sidorovich. Both had similar personality, behavior, plot role, and name. Toad was originally intended to be Vovan, Vladimir, and that is indeed Sidorovich's name. They appear identically in the game's opening sequence. In 2004, Toad was finally replaced by Sidorovich. The prototype was Ed Wilson, a minor character from the 1994 film Natural Born Killers, the father of the main character, Mallory. He was played by American actor Jacob Rodney Cohen. Ed's appearance was partially used in the creation of Toad, his head and elements of clothing. In the first case, a frame from the film at 13 minutes and 42 seconds was used as a basis, namely the right side of the face. This can be noticed, for example, by the shine on the skin or when superimposing a face from a texture on the face in the frame. And in the second case, a dirty white t-shirt. It's unknown exactly when the character's nickname was coined. Judging by the content and metadata of the documents, it can be assumed that it was created before the game's literary plot was written. In 2002, the character is first mentioned in Stalker design document version 1.4.pdf, but without a nickname, as an old Stalker in a secret dugout. He is later mentioned in task 5.doc, where he is also nameless. The document specifies the tasks the merchant gave the player. Depending on the events, the player could either remain in the current location or move to the next location due to increased army patrols. A new version of the scenario was added in November 29th. The merchant's role had changed slightly, but he still issued tasks. In 2003, the document scenario holding documents.doc describes what happens if the merchant gets hold of some of the documents. Around the same time, scenario element ending .doc appeared, containing an excerpt from story.doc regarding the game's ending. Scenario element military stalker.doc states that the merchant sells copies of all the documents he purchased from the military. Around the same time, a separate document was written describing the merchant's role in the game, his inventory, behavior, phrases, tasks, and more. Stalker Fin.doc described the prototype scene of the player and merchant meeting. The merchant was connected to military stalkers and could give the player a task from them. As described in Story7.doc, in Finals3.doc, the merchant speaks of a cluster of blind dogs and gives the player the task of finding out the cause. The blind dogs were wandering around the bodies of the soldiers who were holding the first part of the documents. An idea for a story about Monolith was added to ideas.1.doc. The character's nickname was first mentioned in document 02 Zastava.doc. It described his planned instruction in the introductory video, where he sits in a bunker and a survivor with a tattoo is brought to him. He nurses the survivor back to health and then, as payment, asks them to complete several tasks. At the same time, the document 03 main elements.doc was created, which briefly describes the role of the merchant. The nickname Vovan is mentioned, based on which it can be said that the document was created earlier than 02 Zascab.doc. Todd is mentioned in the plot literary.doc, which contains the literary plot of the game, which continues to text from 02 Zascab.doc. This gives reason to believe that the literary plot was invented earlier, but its original file has not been preserved. In Stalker Techno2.doc, in a special table, the merchant is indicated as Vovan, but there is also a proposal to call him Toad. The document was created much earlier, in the spring or summer, so it can be assumed that the document either contains copied text from another document or has corrupted metadata. The document also describes a new version of the merchant's quests. The model was created by the end of 2002 and was used in a New Year's render in a special pose. The model first appeared in S.T.A.L.K.E.R build 1475. The next version appeared in S.T.A.L.K.E.R build 1616. Its memory footprint was reduced by 43 kilobytes. There is also an object format version for December 17th. The creation of the textures, dates, and first appearances in builds match the model. In S.T.A.L.K.E.R build 1511, August 20, 2003, the eyes on the face were partially removed from the texture, and the eyebrows and mouth were added. Only one animation is known for the character. It's in the object version of the model. In it, Todd gently waves his thumb and moves his mouth, possibly asking a question or expressing indignation. The character received his own voiceover in 2002. 7 files in WAV V format. It first appeared in X-Ray Engine build 1154. After S.T.A.L.K.E.R build 1465, the voice acting was removed from the game files. The game's old website featured an image of Toad, which was a render. First, a photo of Toad's model in a chair was taken, and a screenshot of his basement was used as a background. The merchant also holds a rough model of a shotgun in his right hand. A special encryption was created for Toad's hideout, adding a further nuance to the character's personality. Toad is a greedy ass, judging by the style of the text and the handwriting. Relative to the game, it can be assumed that this was created by one of the merchant's clients. Interesting fact, Roadside Picnic features a character named Vulture Burbridge, who had a nasty temper and killed more than one newcomer during their joint expeditions into the zone. After losing his legs to witch jelly, he became a businessman, secretly buying artifacts from stalkers for resale. The developers may have taken the characters of the merchant Toad from his Struhatsky brothers' work.